Welcome to another episode of the Self Builder Podcast. I'm the host and executive producer, David McManus. I've spent over 20 years in the construction industry across the globe. I'm a carpenter by trade, and now along with my better half, we run a Timberframe house manufacturing company based in County Kildare. We find self-builders across the country are encountering the same issues throughout the self-build journey. This podcast is here to try and educate you on the processes of becoming a self-builder. Each episode we'll explore design, construction techniques, budgeting secrets and sustainable tips, all while hearing from industry experts and fellow self-builders. Hi folks, I'd just like to welcome everybody to the first episode of the Self Builder Podcast. My name is David McManus, I'm going to be your host. So what we're going to be talking about today is, I just want to give you a bit of an introduction to what we're going to be doing over the next few episodes and few months. Talk a little bit about myself, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my own business and how I kind of got into doing what I'm doing here today. So as I say, over the next few episodes, we're going to be trying to help people that are embarking on a self-build journey. So anybody that's building an extension, a renovation, or a new build. Do you know what I mean? So our goal by the end of these episodes is to give someone who knows very little about self-building a good understanding on what to do, where to go, who to talk to, and all the stuff that's involved in a self-build journey, you know. So we've loads of people to come on the show, and we're going to be starting with someone now next week. It's Brian from EBS Mortgages. Brian is a mortgage manager, and he's going to be giving us his insight into, you know, the starting stages of a self-build journey, really, and it is the mortgage stage, you know. So we all need to know, before we design our house, we need to know how much money we have to play with. And what I found over the years is, especially around COVID time, when all the material, the prices hiked up, you know, there was a lot of designs done before COVID, and people couldn't afford to do them afterwards when the inflation hit. The building industry especially. I suppose what we've learned from that is we need to know how much we have before we set off in designing. Another thing I'm very passionate about is getting your design right in the beginning, you know. Like, I see a lot of people coming to us in the to get their timber frame house built by us, and they're reluctant to spend money on design in the design stage. And to be honest with you, I just think it's so important to get your design right from the get-go, you know. It's you know, get your design right, get everything done. If you wanted to go that step further and get your 3D rendering done, so you know what your house is going to look like. You know, if you're spending 300,000 or 400,000 on a house, you're going to want to know exactly what it's going to look like outside and inside. So it's worth a few €100 to get that done. And you know, we know a few different people around the country that's able to do that. So we're going to get chatting to them and see what we can do, and we might be able to get a deal for our listeners, you know. So moving on from there, we're going to have a man from Core Foundations / Insulation. So the core system is something that I've personally followed for quite some time, and I think it's brilliant in a few different ways. One way, you're eliminating your block layer in your foundation. You're able to get your your formwork, meaning your formwork means what your concrete is going to be going into. So you're able to get the whole size of the bottom of your house made in a factory, in insulation. It's brought out onto site, numbered 1 to 100 or whatever, 1 to 50, and 1 goes beside 2, and 2 goes beside 3, and 3 goes beside 4. It's a very simple process, and basically I love it because anybody can do it, and it's simple, and the boys will come out to you and they'll make sure and check that everything is done okay before your concrete comes and stuff like that. And I just think it's a brilliant system for any self-builder, because you're able to do it yourself, you know, and that's where you're going to save a few pound. Another big plus on this system is that it's a passive. It comes standard as a passive foundation, you know. So you're hitting a really, really good U value. Now, don't quote me. I think it's like 0.11, 0.12 of a U value on the foundation, and like that's amazing straight off the mark. You know, you don't have to depend on block layers. It depends on the site. You will still need obviously your engineer to see what your ground has to be stripped back to, but ideally you can get a digger driver in. Let's say you have okay ground, your digger driver can come in, he can clear off the site, he can dig off the top layer, and you know, once it's checked by your engineer, maybe probably 250 mil of crushed stone, blind it off with a bit of sand, leave it all nice and flat, leave it like a perfectly flat pad with compacted stone and sand, and then you come in and you put your core insulation down, or your core foundation, and it's all pinned down and pinned together, and then your steel goes in and your concrete goes in, and I think it's just fantastic. Moving on from that, we're going to have electrical contractors in, plumbing contractors, people that are there's a man in my own area, Kiwi Plumbing. You know, what a business. He's a good few years on the go, but he's over the last few years he started a shop, and he sells online, and he just has some fantastic stuff. He has a marvellous reputation, and he has, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of taste you have in bathrooms. Like, he has something to suit you, you know, and he's out in Allenwood in County Kildare here, where we are based. So he's going to be coming on. He's agreed to come on as well. So we're delighted that we're going to have him on. Sammy is his name. After that, we're going to have, obviously, I come from a timber framing background. I started timber framing when I was 15 years of age, and we're going to interview some other timber frame people in the island of Ireland, and maybe one, maybe two. We'll see how it goes. There's another man that I know down in Cork. David is his name, from Squared Space. He erects steel frame housing, another thing that's becoming quite popular in the market. So David has told us that he's going to come on as well, so we're delighted about that as well. We're going to look at a couple of other types of buildings, like maybe hemp. I think there's like hemp buildings out there now. I know there's hemp insulation out there now, so we're going to have a look into that. And there's also ICF, so we're quite excited about the ICF as well, you know. And we'll have some traditional block layers on, and we're going to have some, you know, people from different aspects of it. So it could be got to do with roof windows, it could be got to do with kitchens, it could be got to do with bathrooms, or different types of floors, you know. And okay, we all know the traditional ways to, let's say, for instance, put down a floor, you know. So like, you have your timber floors, you have your tiles, you have your carpet, but like there's epoxy resin now that goes down that's absolutely looks fantastic, and you can put it throughout the house, and you can use it on a floor that has underfloor heating in it. And it's just different things out there that are on the market today that would suit self-builders. For instance, the epoxy resin that goes down in the floor, you can get loads of different designs, and there's a design to suit everybody. And it's not just for young people, or, you know what I mean, it's for, we're dealing with some people there over the last few months, and you know, people ready to retire, and they're going for this epoxy resin in the floor, and it looks fantastic, and it's just so modern as well. And just even it's so easy to keep clean in regards to tiles or wooden floors, and that it doesn't get damaged, it doesn't get broken, so it has a long life, you know. So there are a few things that we're going to be diving into. Different types of ways of finishing a house. We don't have to finish a house in blocks and bricks and mortar anymore. There's different options out there. For instance, we have an option in our timber frame company. It's so we build a timber frame house as traditionally would be built. So let's say, for instance, your 6x2, your OSB board, your felt membrane, and instead of building a block around the outside of it as would traditionally would have been done, we're cross-batting the outside of it, and then we're putting a cement board or a concrete board onto the front of it. And that means that the concrete board can be fitted in the factory. It comes out to site the wall is 85% finished, and all you need to do is put a plaster or a render on the outside of that wall, you know. And like, there's loads of different systems out there today. You have cladding, you know, you have different types of cladding. Some of the stuff that we would have been putting on agricultural buildings years ago, like corrugated iron. Some of the houses that's on, let's say, Room to Improve, or the one in the UK, I can't think of it this second, but you have the black corrugated houses in Ireland and the UK. They're making it onto these programs like Room to Improve, and they're just outstanding. And we're using something that we used to put on agricultural sheds years ago, and it's just amazing, you know. And it's just so contemporary and so modern. But we're going to be talking about that as well, you know. And I'd just like to touch on, by the time we get to the end of the podcasts, I'm going to have a little bit surprise for everyone. What I want to do is I want to be able to show our listeners, tell our listeners, the most cost-effective way of building, let's say, a standard 3-bed house. So let's say you have, you know, Mary and John, and they're taking in 60 or 70,000 a year. So they want to be able to build a cost-effective home up to the building standards today. We want to be able to put that down on paper for your average Joe and show them how to do it from start to finish. That's my personal goal by the end of these episodes. So that's what we're going to strive to do. And we're also going to have you know, what some of the best ways of doing it as well. So we're going to pick what we consider the best way to, you know, the best foundation, the best way of building, the best insulation, the best windows, the best floor, the best, you know, we're going to put together a kind of a package for somebody, and we're going to do maybe a nice contemporary house, and we're going to kind of put something on paper to say, look, if you want to build a house like this, this is the best way you can do it. So we're going to do a standard house, and we're going to do what we consider will be the best house, and we're going to stick it on paper, and it'll be available for any of our listeners, you know, just on request. So that's our goal by the end of these episodes, and you know, that's we're absolutely so excited and can't wait to get people on and just run through what we're going to be doing. But just, I'm going to move on to myself there now, myself and my own business. I'll just give you a bit of a background on who I am, and where I come from, and how I ended up doing what I'm doing, you know. So my name is David McManus from County Kildare. I'm started erecting timberframe houses when I was 15. So I left school when I was just after my junior cert in Prospers, and I started erecting timberframe houses at 15, when just before my 16th birthday that summer. So we started erecting timberframe houses in Kildare town, which was just across from the Chillin in Kildare. Now, we were able to erect 2 semi-detached houses in a day, myself and another couple of lads, and so we could erect anywhere between 4 and 6 houses a week. So we'd erect 2 houses, let's say on the Monday, we might erect 2 houses on the Tuesday, and then we'd fall back and we'd start roofing. So we'd then put on the roof trusses, and so back then there was a timber frame open panel. So an open panel means that there's no insulation inside. A closed panel means that there is insulation inside. So an open panel timber frame house, and we do all the timber work, the structural timber work, and we put on the roof trusses, and someone used to come in, felt and batten and tile it then behind us, you know. So that's what I done for a good few years, and roofing. So that's my main background, you know. When I came to the end of my apprenticeship in 2007, the country was coming to a grinding halt for anyone that was around at that time, you know. So I did move to the residential construction dried up quite quick around 2007. So I actually moved into doing groundworking. A cousin of mine used to pick me up in the morning. We used to head to Navan. We used to do a lot of groundwork. And now the groundworking involved, you know, shuttering carpentry work, digger work, all the preparation that goes on before what I was originally doing was the timber frame build. So I got a great background there for another year, and I done foundations and all that kind of stuff up to just before the Timberframe house arrived on site. So a couple of years later went on. Look, I stayed in the groundwork civils game for probably 2 or 3 more years after, and I done a little bit of it abroad as well. So I have a good background in machinery and all that type of stuff, preparing before the even house starts, you know. So around 2009, things were really tightening up here, you know. So we were down to a couple of days a week, and I think even at the time we could have been doing a few X and O's on the dole, you know. That's what I was after getting to. So we I applied for a visa. I was actually talking to a friend of mine on Facebook one night, just emailing him back and forth. I says, "Jez, how are you getting on out in Australia?" And he says, great, the place is booming out here. I says, "Jez, that's great, you know, how do I do it?" He says, "Follow this link, pay €150 and you'll have the visa in 24 hours. And lo and behold, I followed the link, paid the €150, and I had the visa within 24 hours. And I remember March in 2010, I headed for Australia on my own. Out I went on my own, and you know, started doing out there. I was doing a bit of everything. As anyway, if anyone was ever in Australia, you know, you could be doing anything. So we were doing groundworks. I was doing a bit of carpentry work, and you know, that went on for a couple of years. And a couple of years went by, and my visa ran out. So I headed for New Zealand, and at the time there was only after been a huge earthquake out in Christchurch, or a couple of huge earthquakes out in Christchurch. So I landed in 2012 in Christchurch, New Zealand, and it was like something you'd see on the television. It was like the Lebanon or somewhere that was after getting blown to bits, you know. Like there was an army surrounding the city. There was nobody allowed in or out, only registered you know, contractors or whatever. Like no ordinary people were allowed in and out, civilians or whatever you might call them. So I started out there again. I started out there doing carpentry and whatnot, and done another year out there. So it was a challenging time out in New Zealand, but seen a huge difference in the way that we build in Ireland compared to New Zealand and Australia. Foundation systems are completely different, and structures are fairly different as well, you know. But everything out there I noticed in Australia and New Zealand was timber frame, you know. So timber frame would have been the way to build. Timber, like it would have been the foundation system would have been piles, you know, joists and flooring on top of it, and there was very little insulation used, might I add. And it's not that warm out there either, but it was not too bad in the summer, but in the winter, you know, you'd freeze your you know what. But so I moved on from New Zealand into the UK and so on. The building continued. I started my first company in the UK in 2014, and I've been kind of working for myself ever since, to be honest. So I'm nearly 10 years now. Nearly 10 years working for myself. And when I came home to Ireland, I'd done a little bit of work around the world. I was out in America for a short while, and I was in you know, Southeast Asia for a short while as well, and we were doing different internships and stuff like that. But when I did come back to Ireland, my partner that I'm with now, my fiancée that I'm with now, she became pregnant, and I needed somewhere to live quite quickly. So we manufactured a timber frame house, stick frame, and built it over a few months. And yeah, I remember about a year later, we were sitting up at home, and I remember watching RTE News, and there was a huge housing crisis going on. I just remember sitting back and thinking, Jesus, I wonder, would there be any interest in what I'm after building, you know? Because I kind of built my house, timber frame construction, a corrugated roof, black corrugated roof, and some cladding on the outside of it. Now, it looks a little bit different than your typical house in Ireland, but in New Zealand or Australia or Canada or America, it would have been quite the norm, you know. So I stuck it up on Dundee one night for the crack, and that night I got 850 views, and my phone was hopping over the next morning. So I says, geez, I must be onto something here, you know. Like that's where it all started. We started a timber frame house manufacturing company from there, and the first year we only done a couple. we done a couple of sales, but slowly but surely we're after building up and growing a business from there, so at the moment we're probably doing, look, it depends, anywhere between 8 to 12 or 14 houses per year. It does depend on the size of the houses. If the house gets big, we'd only we do 2 small ones to 1 big one, that kind of way. So but like we did originally start off doing stuff in people's backyards and extensions on houses, and it's just grown from there really. And look, we've a good reputation, we've a 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and we do try our best to keep our customers happy, and it's not always easy, by the way, but we do try our best, and anything that's within reasonable doubt, we'll sort it out, So today we're NSAI approved as a roof truss manufacturer here in County Kildare, and we're just in the middle of becoming NSAI approved for our wall panel system. We have a few different systems that are unique to us. So we use the cement board system on the outside of our timber frame house, which leaves our packages. We have a weather tight package, which includes, your roof, your fascia soffit gutters, your windows, your doors, your insulation package, your render board package. It leaves them all quite competitive. So if you were going to build in blocks and bricks and mortar, if you change to a timber frame and render board package, it's leaving our package quite competitive. So we're also meeting Part L of all the building regulations. So we're 100% there. We have our own engineer employed full time. He also does our designs, and we have outsourced structural engineers that we call on whenever we need on different projects. So this podcast is to one, it's just to help us get a better name out there, and it's to show self-builders that there is other ways of building, that basically you don't have to build with bricks and mortar, and there is other options out there. And we're not only going to run through Timberframe, we're going to run through Timberframe, steel frame, as I said, ICF, and so on. So it's going to be a cool journey, and it'd be great if you do like it, if you do think anyone can get a bit of benefit from this, share it. Share it across WhatsApp, or share it across Instagram or Facebook or whatever you're on, I will say to you that we do have a WhatsApp self-builder group that you're more than welcome to join, and I'm going to leave the link to that in the description. I'm going to leave a link to our Premier Timberframe Homes page. I'm going to leave a link to the Instagram and the TikTok page. It's all going to be left in the description, and you're more than welcome to like and follow us. And I'm going to leave an email address under here as well, so you can email us, and if you have any direct problems that you're having in the self-build journey, we'll do a podcast on it, So you're welcome to email me at any time and ask or request for what you'd like us to do, And if we don't know it ourselves, we'll go and find someone that does know it. We'd really love to hear your feedback from the followers there that's going to be listening and following us. And as I say, keep listening in. We're going to have some fantastic people on here, and they are specialists in their field. So if you need to know something, please let us know. I'm going to leave you at that for this evening. I wish you all very well. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Self Builder Podcast. Don't forget to like,